Hi friends, welcome to a discussion on general definitions. Thanking Harish and Jugal for their efforts in this presentation. So these are the terms which have been used: DTAA, Double Tax Avoidance Agreements, MAP, and POEM, Place of Effective Management. MAP stands, of course, for Mutual Agreement Procedure. This is the agenda. So we shall understand a brief as to why this article and what is the scope of this, and some of the definitions, relevant definitions described in this, and looking at India specific DTAs and what happens when the terms are not defined, and certain specific notes from the model commentary, and of course summary of what we have seen in this article. So as we know, before getting into the section 2 of the Income Tax Act, right, which talks about definition, or most of the legislations in India, section 2 would be the definition section, where you would have a list of terms defined for us to understand a particular legislation. The same thing goes with the DTA as well. So the purpose of any definition is to expand or contract the meaning of a term, and the article deals with general definitions which are necessary for the interpretation of the provisions of the convention, and certain important definitions which are outside the scope of the general definition are covered under other articles like permanent establishment, immovable property, royalty, etc. So this is only a very specific clause for general definitions. As is mentioned here, what is a permanent establishment? We have an entire article 5 talking about it. What is fees for technical services? We have article 11 or 12, as the case may be, based on the DTA, talking about it. What is an immovable property? What is royalty? We have specific provisions, but here are general definitions which are covered, which are relevant for us to go through the article or DTA per se. Article 3.1. For the purpose of this convention, unless the context otherwise requires, the term person includes an individual, a company, and any other body of persons. Now here what we need to understand is the concept of inclusive or exhaustive definition. This is part of the basics of interpretation of statutes. So inclusive definition typically means the definition not only covers the items which are enlisted, but also similar items which have similar characteristics. For example, when I say cats, dogs, etc., we talk about domestic animals. When we say lion, tiger, etc., we talk about wild animals without giving an entire list. But that's where we say the term animal includes cats, dogs, etc. It effectively means domestic animals. When the term person includes individual, company, and any other body of person, it effectively means not only individual, company, it also includes any other constitution or any other type of structure which is possible. But when we say the term company means a body corporate, it is an exhaustive definition. It puts a finite limit to the list of items specified in the definition. The terms enterprise of a contracting state and enterprise of the other contracting state mean respectively an enterprise carried on by a resident of a contracting state and an enterprise carried on by a resident of the other contracting state. So the term international traffic means any transport by a ship or aircraft, except when the ship or aircraft is operated solely between places in a contracting state and the enterprise that operates the ship or aircraft is not an enterprise of that state. So typically you have a ship which goes from, let's say, Chennai to Mumbai. It is a domestic traffic within the presence of India. And when it happens from India to Chennai to a port in Sri Lanka, it becomes an international traffic, and the enterprise that operates a ship or aircraft is not an enterprise of that state. So if a Sri Lankan company is going to operate a ship from Chennai to Mumbai, it becomes international traffic for it. But if an Indian enterprise which operates from Mumbai to Chennai, it becomes a domestic traffic. That's what is trying to be explained here. Again, the term competent authority, if it's India, it could be a representative of the Ministry of Finance or CBDT. So that's where which is left for open for definition by the respective states. And the term national or citizen means an individual possessing the nationality of a contracting state, any legal person, so even companies, partnership, or an association deriving its status as such from the laws in force in a contracting state. So if we are to understand, friends, person is a wide definition because it's an inclusive definition and the list is only illustrative. Company again is an exhaustive definition because the term uses means any body, corporate, or an entity which is treated as such for tax purposes. Enterprise of a contracting state or the other state again is an exhaustive definition. Section uses the word means. International traffic, again we say that it's based on the principle that the right to tax profits arising from operation of ships or aircraft in international traffic resides only in the place of the state of effective management. The use of the words place of effective management in a contracting state again is subject to bilateral agreement. So because invariably what can happen, ships you would see, they would operate they would be registered in a tax haven and the owners would be in some countries of substance. In such cases, the tax haven only becomes a conduit. So which is why the place of effective management principle is generally recommended. Competent authority, because the designation and the role of the competent authority varies from country to country. So it is necessary, as in some countries the implementation of double taxation may not lie solely with the jurisdiction of the highest tax authorities and can also lie within the jurisdiction of other global tax authorities. So the roles of who could determine what vary from country to country, which is why it has been left open. Nationality, an individual is a national if he possesses, let's say, a passport. If he possesses the nationality of a country, which means that he is a national of a country by birth. In case of any other person, the nationality could be decided by the laws of the respective state. You can also be a national by way of registration. And there's a process called naturalization in India and in most countries. Let's try and understand certain definitions from an Income Tax Act perspective. If we say a company means any Indian company or a body corporate incorporated by or under the laws of a country outside India, or any institution, association or body which is assessed as a company as per the erstwhile laws, income tax laws, or any institution, association or body, whether incorporated or not, whether Indian or non-Indian, which is declared by general or special order of the board to be a company. So again, it's an exhaustive list. A company could be an Indian company or it could be a foreign company. It does not say, the definition only talks about a company, and it also talks about any association which would be regarded as a company under the erstwhile income tax laws, or which is declared to be a company by virtue of a general or a special order by the CBDT. Let's look at certain India-specific DTAs to understand certain definitions for competent authorities. If you look at the India-Singapore DTA, para 1 of Article 3, the central government in the Ministry of Finance, Department of Revenue or their authorized representative, and in the case of Singapore, it is the Ministry for Finance or its authorized representative. Similarly, in the case of UAE, the Ministry of Finance and Industry of its authorized representative, and in the case of India, the central government in the Ministry of Finance or their authorized representative. So likewise, if you look at India-UK treaty, in the case of UK, the Commissioners of Inland Revenue or their authorized representative, and in case of India, the central government in the Ministry of Finance, Department of Revenue or their authorized representative. So it varies, as we saw, country to country based on the authority structure prevailing in the respective jurisdiction. Now comes a case for how would you interpret terms which are not defined within the article. So Article 3.2, as regards the application of convention at any time by a contracting state of any term not defined therein, shall, unless the context otherwise requires, have the meaning that it has at that time under the laws of that state for the purposes of the taxes to which the convention applies. Any meaning under the applicable tax laws of that state prevailing over a meaning given to the term under other laws of that state. So let's try and understand. Now here we're talking about a situation where you don't know the meaning of a term precisely the way in which it needs to be interpreted in a DTA, or let's say the DTA does not have. Then in such case you need to go to the laws of that state for the purposes of taxes to which the convention applies. So you need to go to the source state ideally to understand based on how the taxing obligations happen. Let's say India is going to declare dividends. An Indian company is going to declare dividends to a shareholder, to a beneficial holder. in Singapore. Now, the term beneficial holder is not defined as per the treaty. Now, what will you do? You will go to the domestic laws in India to understand whether the beneficial owner definition covers the person who is invested from Singapore. Now comes the concern. The term beneficial owner could be defined in Income Tax Act, could be defined in FEMA, could be defined in Companies Act. Now, in such a case, now what happens? If you read the language, any meaning under the applicable tax laws of that state of India shall prevail over the meaning given to the term under other laws of that state. So, if the term beneficial owner is defined under tax laws, Companies Act or FEMA, you would give preference to the definition as per Income Tax Act for the purpose of resolving the conflict. Hope it is clear. So, the meaning of any term not defined in the convention may be ascertained with reference to the meaning as per domestic law of the contracting state, whether or not it is a tax law. However, where a term is defined differently for different laws of the contracting state, the meaning given by the law imposing the taxes shall prevail over all other laws. Further, where definition of any terms as are agreed between countries in the course of mutual agreement procedure, such definitions shall also be taken into account for interpreting those terms while applying the provisions of the convention. If we are to look at some of the notes from model commentary, when a conflict arises on the definition between the law in force when the convention was signed and that in force when the convention is applied, the latter law prevails. Very important. So where there is a conflict, because the laws are dynamic, the laws keep evolving. So there is a conflict when the convention was signed and that in force when the convention is actually applied. This is very similar to, I would say, one of the rules of interpretation. If you have two conflicting sections in a particular legislation, the latter section will always prevail over the former, because the understanding is as societies evolve, newer provisions are required to regulate whatever was originally intended to be regulated. So the commentary provides satisfactory balance between the need to ensure the permanency of commitments entered into by states when signing a convention on one hand, and the need to be able to apply the convention in a convenient and practical way over time on the other hand. So hope that is clear, friends. See, I think understanding a DTA is no different from understanding your fundamentals on rules of interpretation. So which is why it is so important for you to understand how to interpret treaties over a period of time. It's nothing but your interpretation of statutes. So to summarize, friends, Article 3, please, it has a definition of the term person, definition of the term company, enterprise of a contracting state and other contracting state, international traffic, competent authority, national, and what happens if the terms are not defined. You go to the domestic laws, and within domestic law, if there are multiple definitions, you prefer the tax law definition. And even within treaties, there's a change in the definition from the time the treaty was signed to the time it comes into force. The latter definition prevails. If you were to look at the difference between OECD and UN, the term enterprise applies to carrying on of any business. It is not available under UN Model Convention. National citizenship is a word included. Considers, as far as UN model is concerned, it considers individual possessing the nationality of a contracting state. Definition of business includes performance of professional services and of other activities of an independent character. It is not available. Recognized provident fund, again not available here. The words or the competent authorities agree to a different meaning pursuant to Article 25 is not available, but in practice it is imbibed into the situation. So this concludes our discussion on Article 3. Thank you.